gentlemen of the media, welcome to the PPP Weekly Press Conference. Me, as usual, is our General Secretary. We'll be reading two statements after which we'll be taking questions here.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The first statement reads as follows. The People's Progressive Party wishes to draw attention to the vicious, ongoing witch hunt that the de facto Granger administration has launched within the public service and beyond. Contrary to the bleatings of government officials, the witch hunt exercise is proceeding at a fast and furious rate. Thus far, permanent secretaries, presidential guards, contract workers, media workers, advisors, chairmen and members of state boards, diplomats, regional executive officers, to mention a few, have had their services terminated with immediate effect and without their legally due benefits. As this uncalled for human resource hemorrhaging continues as a result of the witch hunt, concurrent
release of employees, some employees of the state, there were at least 20 employees or 20 persons on NCN's payroll who were not employed by NCN. They were found to be working out of some special unit at the office of the president, but drawing money through NCN. Do you believe that was a justifiable reason for their dismissal, taking into account that nobody knew what they were doing and they appeared to have been doing work for the party that was in power at the time?
And let me make this clear. Every time there's a change of government, when a government comes in, there will be things which it did not agree with the previous government. There's no government that comes in that takes up lock, stock, and barrel what the previous government did. No. The APNU-AFC coalition came into government. They found certain things that they were not happy with, and they decided that they're not going to run with that. For example, the ministries. They changed up all the ministries, the names of the ministries, only to find out that they can't do that because no budget is allocated to the names of the new ministries that they do. Right? Now, in respect, so they can change whatever they want to change, but it's the question how you go about doing it. That's the question we're dealing with here. How you go about doing it. We are against the method or the methodology that is being applied to dispense with the services of people in an institutional unit that you have a difficulty with. These people have signed contracts. They have in those contracts terms and conditions of their employment as well as benefits. Okay? So to willy-nilly dismiss people, as we know, because we have the records of these people who have been terminated with immediate effect, without due regard to the terms and conditions under which they've been employed, and what is due to them, without the month's notice termination not being applied. I think that is wrong. And that is what we're talking about, but there was nothing illegal. You see, the main point that is being missed, there was nothing illegal in the way people were employed. It was open. There's nothing illegal about how they were employed. There's nothing illegal about the setting up of these different bodies within the government apparatus. Every government, look, I read in the weekend newspaper that the new government is setting up an asset recovery unit. Is there anything illegal about that as yet? They're obviously going to employ people to work there. So every government sees or deems as they fit establishing of institution and employment of persons to work in there. And it's open in the public. So all that I'm saying is these bodies being set up were not illegal. It's the preference of the government to do that, and then the new government comes in, it decides to terminate everybody lock, stock, and barrel without due regard to what is due to them according to the contract.
But sir, don't you think there's a problem when you see employees on a payroll of one company and they've never worked at that company, but they're drawing a salary from that company, as in the case of over 20 persons working out of the
Well, who said they're not? Who said they were not?
The CEO of
They were
NCN,
part. Which CEO said
the
that?
current CEO. She volunteered the information and said she's never seen these people.
No, listen to
She
me.
doesn't know who they are.
No, listen to- listen to me. The way how technology works today, you don't have to be at a location to be working. I could be a journalist of newspaper X and never turn up to the editorial staff.
The CEO
No, just a minute. Let's go through this thing dispassionately. Let's go through this thing dispassionately. I could be a journalist, right? A freelance journalist or a part-time journalist working for a newspaper or a radio station or whatever the case may be. Is it necessary during today's time of technology for me to be present at that place every single day, every single hour, for me to find my story?
No.
But they were not doing story for
No,
NCN.
man, listen. It's not necessary.
Correct.
So these people could be off-site
Yes.
and still be working.
But not
So what is the
NCN.
problem? No, you're not asking the question.
You're not
Listen.
answering the question though.
Hello, madam. He will deal with and answer the question or not you. You're not critiquing the press
I
conference.
agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the issue that you raised?
Well, because you had your daughter, Koi McCoy's sister-in-law, you
Yeah.
had a relative of Mr. Mustafa there. They were all a part of this blogging unit.
Yeah.
And their primary job was to create fake Facebook accounts, attack whoever might be coming with statements from the other parties and so.
Mhm.
And they were being paid salaries through NCN. The NCN CEO is on record as saying she never knew these persons. They were never in the employ of NCN, but they were being paid.
Well, I can't answer those details. I can't answer that question. Those great.
Would you be concerned as a former minister of the
No,
government?
listen to me, man. Every government sets up institutional arrangements as it deems fit to deal with issues. All the time saying it was not illegal. What they were doing was nothing illegal. Right? If you're questioning the modus operandi on the way they receive salaries, well, that's a matter for the people who employ them to answer. I am dealing mainly with the broad policy issues.
Well, in number 51, police station,
All right,
Francis, you never answered that question.
Let's move on.
Well,
That question was answered earlier.
No,
Yes, Harold, I'm going to listen. The minister, the general secretary said the commissioner went up there and he had a meeting with the people there and they took a decision to transfer.
Yeah.
The Albion case, he wasn't the minister, Gadraj was there. Right.
Them are away from the less controversial though. I'm trying to find out if the PPP, I know you have your issues with the de facto Grange-led government, but they've extended an arm for inclusionary governance, and they're once again calling on the party to work with them. What is the position on that?
Calling?
Yeah.
How?
The central official. Yeah.
You received the letter on Monday?
How are they calling? No, I'm dealing with this journalist.
You dealing with me?
Yes, you answer. You're posing a question to me.
Okay. So they've said
What
it
is,
publicly.
could you
and
reformulate your question?
are you considering?
I'm being distracted by others who are not on the floor right now.
Okay. Are you considering the letter that the government would have sent to the party?
You didn't say that just now.
Okay, I'm being very precise for you, sir.
I want to be precise because
Yeah.
the answer which I give to you will be precise. What is your question again?
What is the party's position on the letter that was sent by the government for inclusionary governance? Your participation in that?
Well, we have received a letter from Mr. Harmon from the APNU party. We've not received a letter from the government. And as a political party, we are soon to respond to that letter. It seems to us, when we talk about inclusionary or national unity, in the letter they're talking mainly about parliament, not about government.
With regards to Parliament, sir, could you say when another party has
Yeah.
extracted its names of MPs?
Not
Parliament opens on Wednesday.
Not as
Are you going to do it before Wednesday?
I can't say for sure.
Are you going to Parliament?
is-
Yeah.
Government, could we have some order here, please?
Yeah, but you're ignoring me on the corner when I'm raising
Could
my
we
hand.
have some order, please?
Okay. Are you going to Parliament though? On Wednesday?
I was about to tell you before you were interrupted
Yes.
that, no, we have not decided on that as yet.
Today, the National Assembly will have invited parties to have their new members of Parliament attend workshops on some of the procedures of the new Parliament and so the new members generally. So the party will not be
Well,
taking part.
I would want to believe that when we name our people, the workshops will have to be held for those new ones. Yes, of course. They have to hold workshops for the new MPs after all the MPs. If they don't want to hold workshops for them, and then you deal with that when the time comes. But you know, in all fairness, it doesn't mean to say that because you held workshops for one set, you shouldn't hold workshops for us. What's the problem?
Is the party in a tight position with regards to choosing these 32 members of Parliament, sharing of the goodies, so to speak?
What do you mean by tight position?
Well, you know, you have a lot of persons who were on the list.
Uh-huh.
And now you have to extract just 32 persons from that list to go serve in the National Assembly.
That's correct.
You've been consulting for 3 weeks now,
Yes.
right? So, you know, we have the prime ministerial candidate. She doesn't know whether she's moving left or right. You have.
She told you that?
She said she doesn't know. I called her. She said she doesn't know
She
whether
doesn't know.
she'll be going to
what-
Parliament or not.
Oh, well, so do I.
You know? Or you
No, I'm telling you, I don't know either.
who in charge?
Or let's move on.
No. What I'm saying is that no decision has been taken as yet in respect of extraction of names of persons to go in Parliament, and the consultative process continues.
But sir, the PPP is Ghana's oldest political party, not a pian party, so to speak.
What is a piang piang?
And you be a new kid on the block. This is a party that's been around for over 50 years.
Yeah.
Why is it taking you this
65 to
long?
be precise.
Yeah, why is it taking you this long?
When
And
did you
sir,
48 hours in
as
2011?
as an experienced politician,
I'm being disturbed on the.
All right.
no, but as an experienced politician, sir,
Yeah.
you have been in the National Assembly for decades. Surely
Decades.
you would have been advising the party, you know, we gotta make a move.
That is true. But do we make a move according to whose agenda? The timing is dictated by what and by who. We make a move depending on our timetable, political timetable, and we dictate the terms and conditions under which we proceed on such matters.
And what is the party's position with regards to Venezuela? Over the weekend, we would have
I
seen.
think let's just give another journalist in the meantime. What, you got Neil Marks there? After which you have to read it. And then don't cry.
interrupt me, would you say
All right,
so?
push. Yes, let's move on.
I think that was a brilliant move on your part.
Right.
Mr. Rohini, Marks Capital News. Sir, what would you say would have been the rationale for keeping Mr. Rajendra Singh on the job and the board of Kaisuku when, by Dr. Singh's own admission, the sugar corporation was virtually crippled under his watch? He wanted $16 billion, or else he said he would have shut down the industry. Why keep a man who was not performing, or a board that was not performing?
Well, when you say not performing, I assume that you are saying that based on what the new government is saying.
By Dr. Singh, what
No,
he
no,
is
no,
going to say.
no.
He needs $16 billion.
Dr. Singh never said that he was not performing. It is the new administration that came in that began the propaganda against Mr. Singh and the board by talking about his non-performance. No, if you believe them, that's a different matter. We don't. We don't. And that is where the distinction ought to be made. We are not running on what the opposition is saying about non-performance. If it was a question of non-performance during our time, we would have dealt with it. But as far as we were concerned, there was no question of non-performance.
So, sir, how would you explain Dr. Singh's statement that the industry needs $16 billion and that's outside of the debt that it has?
That statement by Dr. Singh is nothing new.
So why didn't you fix it when
Everybody
you were
knew
in
about
government?
that, and so even in Parliament that matter was discussed, when the opposition at that time voted against a bailout, quote unquote, of Gaisuku. Now that the shoe is on the other foot and they are fully acquainted with the details and information, we see a total turnaround.
Opposition didn't was against a bailout of Gaisuku.
I never did.
$5 over the past years were agreed to.
Okay.
Once we were in the same.
All right, Duncan.
Handle down for nightly news. Mr. Roy, can you give us an update? What is happening with that petition? Can you give us an update on that? And when will your party supporters know, specifically when you're going to Parliament, or if it is you're not going, when will they know?
Data and evidence has already been collected and for inclusion in the petition. More information, more details, and more evidence is being collected also for inclusion in the petition as we speak. The petition will be submitted at the appropriate time by the legal representation to the courts, and that is where we are now insofar as that matter is concerned. In respect of the knowledge of our members and supporters as regards our participation in the National Assembly, we are in regular contact with our members and supporters. I have been traveling around the country on the East River Coast and Bordeaux on the East Coast, and many of our candidates and our leaders are also right now in the process of a fan-out exercise, consulting with our members and supporters on this very matter, so that the members and supporters of the PPP are fully up to date with the position of our party, and they are part and parcel of the current debate in respect of the aftermath of the May 11th elections and the positions of our party following the announcement of the results of the elections, which we have deemed as unsatisfactory to us, rejected by us, and therefore the question of rigged elections.
I had two clarifications. The first is the Minister of State would have sent the invitation last week Monday, so Joseph Harmon would have been sending it on behalf of the coalition government, not as the GS of APNU. I just want to understand that you believe that the letter was sent by the APNU.
Madam, I am in receipt of the letter, so I know what the letter says. The letter was signed by Joseph Harmon as the General Secretary of the APNU from 61 Hatfield Street, Waterworth.
Perfect. Other clarification. In 2011, when you won the election, you had the list of MPs within 48 hours. Why has this taken so much longer, and why are you not acknowledging the fact that you potentially will not go to Parliament at this point?
I'm not ignoring anything like that you say. I just gave an explanation as to the process that we are currently engaged in respect to the identification of potential members or extraction of them from the list. I've never said those things that you say.
Okay, and then my actual question: what is the party's take on Venezuela's new claim?
That's plagiarizing. She's taking your question.
Yes, okay.
The trading question now. We haven't taken a position as yet, but as you know, when President Ramatar was the sitting president, and in fact throughout the presidencies of the PPP, whenever situations like this arise, the president would invite in the leader of the opposition, whether it was Mr. Corbyn, Mr. Hyde, or even Mr. Granger, to exchange information with them in order to reflect a general sense of national unity in respect of our sovereignty and territorial integrity. But then those invitations were extended to the leader of the opposition. Right now, we do not have a leader of the opposition.
But the party must have a position with regards to Venezuela.
Our
Party position, the general
our
secretary.
position is a historic position that we stand firmly as a political party in respect of defense of our territorial integrity and national sovereignty. We hold to the view that where this exploration is taking place falls within the territorial sea belonging to Canada. The former Minister of Foreign Affairs has spoken extensively on this matter, and so has the Office of the President at the time when it was headed by Mr. Ramatar with the HBS luncheon as the Defense Secretary.
If you're invited to discussions as the General Secretary of the largest other party in the country, will you attend any such discussions as we wait for the appointment of an opposition leader?
Well, on such matters, we rely on the principle of collective decision-making within our party, and then bearing in mind what is the party's position in respect of any engagement with the government, you know, the particular context in which in which such an office may have to be taken into consideration.
Sir, you talk about witch hunting and clean sweeping and all of that. How could you make that statement at this time condemning the actions of the present government? Adam Harris is here, and you came in October 5, 92, with pretty much the same vengeance. Do you see a comparison there?
I'm not sure. Give me the examples and then I will say.
When you were appointed minister, didn't you?
Do you remember? Do you remember the action against Adam Harris?
No, I'm not. I can't recall that. I can't recall that. I don't know what is he laughed about. It seems as though if you can't remember certain things, as though it's a joke. If a lot of people around this table might not be able to remember a lot of things.
Too young, 23 years ago, but this is me and you.
I remember a lot of things about Adam Harris, but I've never spoken about him.
Anyway, let's move on.
Mr. Rohit, what is Mr.
And what did you say, Ms. Bush? You said something about me and Minister.
When, in 1992, when the government took power, didn't you go country to country and essentially fire the ambassadors?
No, ma'am. What I did, first of all, I was sent by the sitting president. If you are sent on a mission by the sitting president, you have to go. That's number one. Number two, you are not aware of the mandate that I had. The mandate that I had was to sit with every single employee at the missions and at the consulates and to renegotiate the contracts with them. It was never to just unilaterally, whimsically fire people. It was never done like that.
I had a sister
Just a
here.
minute comment. Every single employee had an interview with me. We sat and we negotiated the contracts. They had to decide or had the option of deciding whether they want to continue working or not. And every single head of mission, I don't think there's anyone else who could speak authoritatively on this matter but me, because I'm the one who was involved. Forget hearsay. I sat with every single head of mission and negotiated the terms and conditions either of their re-engagement with the then government or their departure from the government. Every single one of them had an audience with the minister, and every single one of them had the terms and conditions honored and the benefits paid.
Correct.
Some stayed on. Many of the Foreign Service officers stayed. The ambassador in Brussels, Mr. Jimmy Matheson, remained for a significant amount of time in Brussels. I can tell you that.
But some were sent off.
Some were sent off because they said they were not prepared to work with the government. They prepared to go because their view was that they're serving at the pleasure of the president. An ambassador serves at the pleasure of the president. And they chose to relinquish their responsibilities. The next step was to negotiate the terms and conditions on the way they would be released and the monies which were due to them. All of them got their monies.
One of them was Paulette Barnett. she was in New York,
Yes.
just posted, you met with her.
Yes, I did.
She hadn't.
She was kept on for a long time.
Actually,
I know that Paulette was a relative of yours, or still is.
My sister,
But she was
yeah.
kept on for a long time at PR New York. At one time, she even acted as the deputy head of the permanent mission at New York. And I have a very good appreciation of Paulette's contribution to the Foreign Service.
Last question for you. You said in your statement that the party will not sit idly by and watch the public servants go, the government by the corruption. I just wanted you to expand on that a bit. What
Well, we
is
will
that the
take them
party
up, I mean, as we're taking them up now at our press conferences. You know, we will write letters. We will encourage them to also make representation for what is due to them, either through the courts or whatever the case may be. You know, because these are people who work. These are people who have contracts. And these are people who have benefits that are due to them. Now that their services have been terminated, obviously they need that money. You know, and I don't see anything wrong with them making representation for benefits that are due to them.
And you said they've been coming in with their complaints and everything?
No, yes, we have been receiving complaints. We have been receiving the complaints coming in by way of letters, by emails, by telephone calls, some coming in personally, you know, to talk to the former president, not to me, to the former president.
I take it you're keeping a record also?
Pardon?
I take it you're keeping a record also? Of the complaints and, you know, compiling it so that if you take a particular action, you'll have the information to work with.
Nice question. I saw something in the Mirror this weekend. Really already started publishing and keeping a record of those things. But we will do whatever we have to do.
Mr. Rohi, sir, the PPP Civic enjoys good support from workers and residents along the sugar belt of the island, those who work with the sugar industry. You were here today complaining about the firing of the Gaisuco board and the CEO of Gaisuco, but yet the party has been relatively quiet on the complaints by the unions representing the workers, a lot of them your supporters, on the disappearance of over $154 million of their savings by Gaisuco. Nobody knows where the money is. It should have been in the credit union. The party has said absolutely nothing about that. And this would have been under the previous administration. What is the party's position? What would you be calling on the current government to do, or the Gaisuco company to do with regards to over $150 million of your supporters' money?
Yeah, I take it you're referring to this revelation recently made by Mr. Komanchan on this matter. Well, if I'm to, you know, think about it, at least theoretically speaking, if Gaisuco had such a large debt, which is now under consideration by the sitting administration, which the previous administration knew about, and had to go to the parliament every year to deal with this matter. Obviously, I would assume that because of that kind of problem, they couldn't fulfill this obligation to the union fund or whatever it was called. And that, I think, is the logical explanation.
But this sir, was money taken out of the workers' salaries, deducted monthly from their salaries to be transferred to this credit union. It would have nothing to do with the regular operations of the company. So this was money taken out, but never put back in. So then,
well, again, here's a matter that I don't know all the details. It would seem to me that the most authoritative person on this special would be Mr. Komanchan, or the outgoing CEO of Gaisuco, or even the incoming one. They might have the technical details and the data to explain this matter.
but as a party, right, this is the large group of your supporters who are left empty pockets because of this.
Gordon, you know, I'm cautious about answering that, and I don't want you to quote me by saying that I'm cautious in answering because I know about journalists. I have to be careful how you would spin it. Now, the moment I said that I'm concerned, you would say, Rohi concerned about non-payment of, you know, these dues to Mexico workers. that's a spin off receive a gift there. But I want to simply repeat what I said, that if there is any concern, then that concern has to be directed to the agencies and departments that address or dealing with that matter.
So then the party is not concerned.
Well, you see, there you go, you see that. I know you were trying to
Let's move on. Final question from Anil.
I know you were trying to
Final question.
Mr. Rohi, please, if you could clarify some party matters for me. As I understand it, you as General Secretary is the leader of the party. Am I correct?
The General Secretary is the person who is responsible for the day-to-day policy making and so on for the party.
So not leader?
We don't use the word leader. We dispense with the leader when the party made the transformation in 1979.
Well, you're the big man then, you're the one in charge.
Yeah, the
chief. So Mr. Ramatar at this point in time is on the executive as the other executive members.
Is what?
He's on the executive just as the other members of the executive.
Yes.
Okay. Would you be interested in being opposition leader?
They call the General Secretary the primus inter pares.
That's correct. Prime among equals.
Right? Good.
Would you be interested in being the opposition leader?
That is a decision that the executive and the central committee will have to make. I don't want to say anything further on that matter.
What if they offer you?
All right.
Or if you're offered?
If I'm offered,
Yeah.
well, then I'll have to consider it.
Just clarification, if Mr. Ramatar is not going into Parliament, Mr. Jaglio is not going into Parliament, who would be next in line in terms of opposition leader?
That is for the executive and the CC to decide.
Do you think you have to vote it yet?
All right, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, very much.